Okay, you ready to go?
And I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Paradox of Sports, episode 34. Jack, what's going on?
Nothing. Not really much. How are you?
Low and slow down there in Pueblo?
Yeah.
Okay. Episode 34. We ended last time with 33, obviously. 34, before we get to interview, we're going to talk about who our favorite athletes were, who wore the number 34. So, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll go first.
You go first. Favorite athlete that ever wore the number 34. Okay, who is it?
Bryce Harper.
Really?
Yeah. Or it's either Bryce Harper or Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay, so you go with Bryce Harper. Why?
Because he was one of the best right fielders in history. Or back in his days with the Nationals. Not so much with the Phillies, but he was better as a 34 than what he is now, a 3.
Well, he got paid a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie. If I got that kind of money, I might slack a scotch. Especially Philly sucks too. Like that's you don't want to live in. Well, DC sucks too. Like that's you'd have to get paid handsomely to live in those two places. So my 34 it's Bo Jackson for me. Like Bo Jackson's one of the greatest, if not the greatest athlete that I ever watched. There's an awesome 30 for 30 on him. So if you get the chance to watch that, Bo Jackson's the man. So we have a lot of people. What? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Didn't Bo Jackson wear any other number?
When he was with the Raiders, he wore 34. Yeah. I'll be honest. I don't remember what he wore with the Royals. Let's just look real fast. Dude, it's so cool. We have all this information. He was 16 with the Royals. Episode 16, that was a long time ago. We missed it a while back.
Yeah, and episode 16, I wouldn't have even gone with him either. I would have gone with
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana.
See, we'd have agreed on that one right there. We were on the same page. Yeah, Joe Montana, 16. I think he went to Notre Dame, though, which is the one thing I hold against him. Notre Dame sucks. We'll do that for another episode, though. So, okay, everybody is anxious to see. This is an interview you and the executive producer did. I think it's going to be a very popular one, so we're not going to screw around. We're going to get to the interview. When we get out of it, we're going to talk a little about the Super Bowl, and then there's a big wrestling match coming up this weekend. So let's get to the interview. So if you would, go ahead and tell everybody who you talked with.
I don't even want to do a drum roll. Let's just get to it. His name is Trahern, the Pueblo West High School basketball coach, men's basketball coach.
Born and raised. Right
man.
there. Kit Carson, Colorado, man. There it is. All right, here we go.
Ty, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us.
No, thank you, Matt and Jack. I'm excited to be here and talk with you guys.
All right, Jack, take it away, bud.
All right. Talk about growing up in a small town like Kit Carson.
Well, growing up in Kit Carson, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. Obviously, with the community, growing up there, a very tight-knit community, and then playing sports. All of my teammates, most of those guys, we had grown up, started preschool together, and then went all the way through elementary school, middle school, and then obviously finished out in high school. And so just those relationships that were built. I mean, you really get to know each other and have a tight-knit group, and you end up with the same goals, athletic wise, and then community. Just the community support that we had in Kit Carson was second to none, in my opinion. The parents were all really supportive. If in elementary school, if we wanted to go to a 3-on-3 tournament where my dad, who was the coach, if he couldn't take us, then one of the other parents, they were definitely going to take us. And I just loved it. I still go back a lot, still talk to a lot of people there. But yeah, I wouldn't trade my experience in Kit Carson for anything.
What got you into basketball?
Well, probably would think that it would be my dad was coaching. He was the coach out there in Kit Carson for 30 plus years. We just got started early. They had still do have a great tradition out there of every sport, really. We just got started early, learned to love the game, and that was what us and all of my classmates and friends wanted to do.
Now, speaking of Kit Carson, obviously being a Wiley guy, growing up in Cheyenne Wells up until middle school, I mean, that whole area, you hit the nail on the head. Everybody grows up together. You're playing sports in the same leagues. You're not trying to scramble around to find a basketball team or a baseball team to be a part of, kind of like even up here in Pueblo. But one thing that really stuck out to me, even as in high school and then going on to be a broadcaster, is just how consistently good Kit Carson's programs are, both boys and girls. What do you contribute that factor to as far as the consistency of talent and just competitiveness for the Wildcats?
Well, it's just like anywhere that has successful programs, it's all about that culture that's built, and that culture was built a long time ago. One that it was going to be very team oriented, very fundamentally oriented, but then just it was fun for all the kids. Kids wanted to be in the gym, they wanted to play, and then also out on the football field. Just that's the nice part about the smaller town is you're playing for that town, that community, and no matter what sport it is, you're going to play all the sports and you're representing that whole town. And then, like you said, Cheyenne Wells, Wiley, Eads, all those schools had the same mentality, and there was no crossover playing with each other. It was always playing against each other. You played for your school. And yeah, it was just a great way to grow up. Obviously you built those rivalries, but then at the same time, after you're done, you end up, gaining that respect and making friends out of it too. I'm friends with guys from Eads and guys from Cheyenne Wells. And we just realized how fortunate we were to grow up in that environment.
And also another cool point before we move on, state tournaments, if you're playing a team not from our area, everybody is backing you. They might hate you on the quarter of the field when they're playing you, but if you're playing somebody like on the Western Slope or, somebody that's not in the district from the Arkansas Valley, I mean, everybody's like rooting, it's just like one big community within all the communities tying together.
Yep. And that was the way it was. I mean, we obviously Pueblo always, was close to my heart. And I think that was also because of the state tournament format all the way up until my senior year was we would come and watch state, even if Kit Carson wasn't in it. 1A would be playing at Masari Arena, and then 2A would be over at the State Event Center. And then all the championship games were there in the State Fair Event Center. And a lot of me and of my classmates and teammates, we went to the state tournament starting in elementary school. And so that was something that we always wanted to push towards. We wanted to be there playing for a state championship just because of how cool that atmosphere was. And 1A and 2A state tournament, all the people that showed up and still do, and how packed the arenas are for those state tournaments, it's still really cool to see.
Your dad was your basketball coach, who my dad had interviewed in the past. What was it like having him as a coach?
It was a great experience. And one, obviously, as I was growing up, I didn't know any different. And when we were at practice, he was coach. When we were at home, he was dad. And that was the expectation that was sent. Oftentimes, give him a ton of credit now that I'm in the coaching realm. I have a hard time not bringing it home with me, basketball, and talking about basketball with, my wife. My son's a little too young to still talk about basketball with, but when we were at practice, it was all business. We were there to get better basketball wise, but then once we got home, we left basketball at the gym, and that's where our family time was spent at home, talking about other things. And but obviously with him being such a great coach that he was, I respect a ton of things that he did as a coach, and then also as a father, to be able to hopefully emulate and imitate someday. But just looking at how he balanced the two, I think was just really, really spectacular.
You played college basketball at CSU-Pueblo, but you were overlooked, literally, when compared to your 6'10" brother, Jake. What was your favorite moment from your 5-year career there?
Oh, there was a lot of different ones. Obviously, with Jake going there at the beginning, I was, like you said, being overlooked. I was, and rightfully so. I wasn't done growing yet. I was pretty scrawny and really could only shoot threes, and then just kind of had to keep developing my game. And but being there and being able to play with Jake, and Jake was a stud all throughout his career there. His last 3 years especially put up really good numbers, and I was just starting to be able to get onto the floor. So just being able to play with him was really a fun experience. And then my senior year, it ended up being a really fun year. We were in a transition to a new coach, Coach Turner. I really respect him and love playing for him. Along with Coach Eberhardt, who had recruited me there. But then once Coach Turner got there, I kind of started just playing with more confidence, with a little bit more. I had figured it out personally, and everything just kind of clicked. Senior year, of course, we were on the outside looking into the playoffs, but personally had a good year and a really somewhat successful season. But I mean, all my time at CSU-Pueblo was fun, and I learned a lot of great things as a player that helped me with coaching today.
How much fun was it playing for Ralph Turner? I love that guy.
It was extremely fun because Coach Turner was a very bright offensive mind. We did a lot of great things defensively too, but he loved to get it up and down the floor, loved to score a lot of points. So then as an offensive player, you really love to play that way. And him that year, and then I also was able to step on and help coach with him, where everything was more about just basketball. It was about life. He wanted to teach you life lessons, and then obviously too, with his personality, the man was a comedian. He would always find ways to make you smile and laugh. And I owe him a lot. And I still talk to him to this day. And it was just very fun playing for him. He wanted to make sure it was his first year. He understood that everything was going to be new to us with what he did. He just wanted us to have the best year possible, even though he got there a little bit later to where it wasn't quite the team that he would have recruited. But I mean, he loved us all still and wanted us to be successful.
And he was always so good with the little kids, with the Thunder Pups clinics and things like that, as were the teams. But just him out there and just some of the drills and just, communicating with the little ones. I mean, it was just a great experience. And then, of course, especially out on the golf course,
right. Yep.
Certainly a good time. So,
yeah, and not only him, but Coach Tommy Johnson as well, who's now the girls coach back here in Pueblo. Just being able to play for those two guys, it was just a great experience and built relationships that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. So.
Then you coached for CSU-P as a graduate assistant. Who was your favorite player to coach and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. There was so many different players that brought so many different things to the table. I mean, when you talk about coaching at the college ranks, you have such a wide range of talent, and then guys that really work hard. And the thing that was interesting and kind of tough for me was trying to transition from being a player to going into being a coach, because as many different players saw, you wanted to still play and wanted to still show that you could still play. But I mean, a couple names that came to mind. I was only there for 2 years, but a couple of these guys I got to play with and coach, and so we had that really good relationship. Jed Knoffel was one. Nate Tigner was one. Those guys I had played several years with. And then as a coach, I could really have those real conversations with them and say, hey, you need to pick it up right now. Like, we need more. And it's just a mutual respect thing. And then we had some outstanding players. It's just, there's so many come to mind, but those two guys, just being able to play with and coach them, that was really fun for me.
After a stop at Burlington High School, you coached for Fort Morgan. Talk about your experience there.
Well, at Burlington was extra fun because I was able to kind of pair along with Jake, my older brother. He was the boys coach, I was the girls coach. But then I always kind of knew that I wanted to be back on the boys side of things. So that took me to Fort Morgan, that opportunity there. I got to coach some great kids, work with some great administration and great coaching staff. A few of the players, Trey McBride right now plays tight end at CSU. And if he keeps on the same path that he is, he's got a chance to be an NFL tight end. Grayson Garver and Luis Garcia, those guys, they were there for a couple years with me. But coaching staff, Randy Wilson, who was at Wiley, and he was also a Kit Carson Wildcat, graduated with my brother. I got to coach with him for a year in Fort Morgan when he moved up there. That experience, moved over to a tough league, had some really great competition. Never could make it past that second round of the state tournament, and a lot of things I look back on that I think we could have done different to kind of push forward there. But we did some things that they hadn't done as a program. But Fort Morgan to me was kind of a big small town, and that's why I really had enjoyed it. Bigger small town 4A, but lots of people in the stands, but still had that small town feel that we had liked. And then met my wife, and we ended up getting engaged, and she's a Pueblo girl as well. And then the Pueblo West job opened up, and that was one that I always had my eye on. And so then that brought us back to Pueblo.
Now you coach at Pueblo West High School with my former basketball and baseball coach, Coach Pecoraro. Talk about moving to Pueblo for this job.
Well, since I had connections in Pueblo already and had spent 7 years in Pueblo during college, it had always had an at-home feel for me. And like I said, when that job came open, it was one that I knew that it would be a great move, coaching-wise and just community-wise. The community is a great supportive community. Really care about their athletics and then also their academics as well. So working at Pueblo West High School, it's been great, and I'm really enjoying it so far. And then coaching with Coach Pecoraro, he coaches our freshmen, and him and then Coach Brandon Norris, who does our JV. Those guys have been with me all 3 years since I've been there, and always a lot of great insight. Those guys give great advice, give great coaching tips, but then also at the end of the day, they always know how to put a smile on my face too and help me relax and not be so stressed about the job. But it's fun every day working with those guys.
Last season, your Cyclones made it to the Final Four, but the unthinkable happened. All state basketball games got canceled due to COVID. What went through you and the team's mind, especially the senior class, when this news broke?
So we knew that at the beginning of the week, after our Elite Eight game with Glenwood, we found out on Monday that the Final Four games were going to, first, they weren't going to have any fans. And then that Tuesday, we found out that they were going to allow each player 5 tickets. And so we had got that all squared away. We were ready. And then the day before the Final Four was going to happen, I had the players over for film. We fed them, just going over our last game plan. And then I found out later that night that they were going to cancel it all together. And To be honest, at the beginning, it was something that you just couldn't believe was happening. Kind of refused to believe it. But the most disheartening thing was having to text and call all of the team to tell them that the Final Four was canceled and that they wouldn't have a chance to win a state championship. And especially with 8 seniors, that was the toughest part for me, was telling them that, hey, they're canceling the Final Four. Your senior year, your career, it's over. And then there was a little bit of doubt whether they would try to reschedule it or find a way to play. But that was just that was tough. And the toughest part was definitely telling the guys that we wouldn't have a chance to play for that.
I know, especially with this team just being so close. I've talked to Coach Peck about that game a couple of years ago. I believe it was against Lewis Palmer. Controversial call there that, should have, went Cyclones' way, but, just having this and just not the opportunity to compete. There's a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda's, even talking to TJ Vincey, about this same situation a few months back. You've already been around all these teams and coaches and parents, so why not just play it out? Whether it's limited,
Right.
fan base, but just not taking that away from the kiddos. I mean, there's just unprecedented, and not everybody obviously knows what the right answer is.
Yeah, and obviously hindsight is really 2020. I'm sure if we knew what we did now, then they would have found a way to play it. And I know that. I mean, I'm glad that I wasn't the one that had to make that decision. I mean, I know Chassa this year has had to make a ton of tough decisions as far as athletics go, and trying to do what's best for the safety of the kids. And yeah, but then with our 8 seniors, it was just disheartening to not to get them to have that opportunity, because as a player, I got to play for a few state championships, and win or lose, that's always an experience that you always remember. And of course, would it have been different with no fans? Yes, but at the same time, at the end of the day, where your team stand. And I felt with how our team was playing, just the daily grind of what the playoffs were, those kids, not only us, but Meade, Northfield, and Classical Academy, all those kids deserve that opportunity to have that experience. And but at the same time, that's a tough decision to make. And when you err on the side of caution, it's probably the thing for the best. But at the same time, it just breaks your heart for those kids. And I mean, hopefully everything gets back to somewhat normal this season. Obviously, having a shortened season, but we're just glad to be able to have some season.
What was still with the uncertainty with COVID-19, high school sports was up in the air for this year, but you finally got the go-ahead to start practicing this season. Talk about your preparations for this season.
So first and foremost, it's almost like you're not worried about any of the basketball aspects of it. You have to go through all the COVID protocols to keep your team safe. Obviously, every county has different numbers requirements, and our administration has done a great job of keeping us informed and juggling around schedules, because schedules seem to change week to week. And then after going through all the COVID protocols, then we can start worrying about the practice and preparation. Playing in a mask isn't ideal, but that was something that was non-negotiable, and our guys know that they have to follow the rules to be able to give us a season, and our guys have done a really good job of that. And practice has been going well. This week was our first official week, and our guys have been practicing extremely hard. Even in mass, it doesn't look much different. The effort is still really high in there, and our guys want to be successful and do everything they can to help our team win.
Who are some of the players we need to keep our eyes on?
So from last year, we have four returning varsity guys. Xavier Hatch, as a senior, he was very key for us last year, coming off the bench, and it was one of our best shooters. And then also at the end of games, we relied on him to be able to make free throws down the stretch, and he made some really big free throws, not only in the playoffs but then also at the end of league play as well. He's one of our main leaders. Probably play point guard a little bit at every other guard spot for us because how well he can shoot it. Communicates well. I'm looking forward to helping him have a great senior year. And then we have 3 juniors that returned from that varsity team. First, Danny Spence. Danny Spence had a really key second quarter for us at Glenwood Springs. They were playing zone for us, or they were playing zone against us, and Danny Spence shoots it really well. We called upon him, and he had a really big second quarter that helped us get out to a lead, and then we ended up holding on to win that game, and we're expecting really great things from him. And then Cole Brinkley and Joe Gallery, both good football players as well, but they return from our varsity roster. Leadership-wise, they've been doing some really great things. Then offensively and defensively, both those guys, we're expecting a lot out of them.
So just, kind of looking to the future, some of your younger guys, just, again, with the show, we got to know our audience. So, got to drop Levi Middleton's name, just like we did with the Kurt Schilling interview with him being a Red Sox fan, but he's got a sophomore, Ezra. So definitely want to give him a shout out. So what do you see from some of these younger guys? I believe he's a sophomore this year. He definitely has some good size, and I know he gets his athletic ability from his mom. Definitely ain't Levi, but what do you see from some of the younger guys that are trying, working their way up like Ezra?
Yeah, and Ezra's such a great kid. Works hard. Pretty quiet at times. We try to joke around with him to open up a little bit, but honestly, that whole sophomore class is really exciting to work with. Right now, our varsity on down to our C level, our sophomore class almost rounds out half of our total roster. It's a group that loves to play. They work hard. They're very coachable. And I see really good things. If that group can stay together, I see really good things from that group. And they have a little bit of everything position-wise too, and have some potential for some height and something that I haven't had since I've been here, really tall guys at West. But if that group keeps growing, we could have some pretty good height and length in that class, and then pairing with a pretty good guard group, and they're just a fun group to work with just because of how coachable they are. But that's all the kids that we have. They want to be successful. They want to win, and they want to play for each other. There's not much selfishness going on.
And then I'm going to ask you the question I, kind of referred to just about the consistency of the talent, when you grew up in Kit Carson, just how good both boys and girls were. What makes the talent pool here in Pueblo West so special, especially when they get to the high school level at, football, but obviously baseball and then focusing specifically basketball.
Right. I think it starts with the community support. You see it in every sport. When you go out to a game, the community is heavily involved there, and they show up to games, and of course they bring their kids with them too. So with the younger kids, getting to sit there and watch the games and see the atmospheres of the games and how cool that is. It kind of makes me think back to the last East game before playoffs last year, and then also the Sand Creek playoff game at home. The atmosphere in the gym, like the community came out, supported, and our gyms were at capacity. And at the end of the East game, we had to get a stop to send it into overtime, and I still watched that film clip to where the gym was so loud the camera was shaking, and you don't find that in high school sports a whole lot. And I think that since the community supports so much, they bring their kids out. The kids see that and they want to be a part of it. They want to be like Xavier Hatch. They want to go and be successful. They want to be able to shoot it like them. And I think that's similar to what it was in Kit Carson as well, where all the elementary kids are going out to the games and supporting the high school kids. And you see players that you want to imitate and be like, and want people to cheer for you when you get older, like everybody's cheering for them now. And it's just that culture from top to bottom. And I think that Pueblo West definitely has that, and not only in basketball, but for every sport.
What do you do in your spare time now?
Well, now with COVID, it's a lot of staying home with my 8-month-old son, Mac. That has been the one nice part about COVID, is being able to be home and see him grow up and spend a lot of time with him. Normally in my free time, I like to go out and play golf. I love playing golf with friends, playing some tournaments where you can keep something kind of recreational, but also be competitive at the same time. If the athletic ability is gone, which it definitely has gone at my end. So I like to play golf, hang out with friends and family, watch sports, talk about sports. But I would say golf is my number one hobby.
Hold on. Something happened to my questions. I'll pull them back up.
Oh, did they vanish on you, dude?
Yeah, the tab vanished. Okay. Who do you think is the best basketball player ever to play for CSU-Pueblo?
Oh, wow. That's a tough question. I know some of the history with CSU-Pueblo athletics because both my dad and my uncle played basketball there, along with my brother. Of course, you always see things about Cal Tatum from those days, with how many points he was able to score. The best that I played with, boy, that's really tough. We had my brother's class had really good basketball players, guys that could score. Boy, that's a tough one to answer. My brother will probably give me crap for saying it's not him, but I mean, a couple other guys that come to mind from his class. Jake was definitely the best big man that I had played with there. Big, strong, athletic. And then a couple of guys from his class, a guy named Rome Smith, he could really score it, along with Marcellus Williams by the time he was a senior. Those guys could really, anytime you needed a bucket, they were going to get it for you.
See, we don't just throw you softballs here on the
yeah, that one threw me for a loop a little bit, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that'll once we get off here, they might text me once they see this. So.
Oh yeah, we got to make sure about that too. So.
We don't throw softballs. We throw those balls like Aroldis Chapman does.
Gotcha.
Who do you think's the best basketball player to ever play for Kit Carson?
And keep in mind the weatherman follows us on Twitter. So
I was when Brian Gibbs played. I know exactly what you're talking. When Brian Gibbs played, I wasn't even born yet, but my dad has every single game film from when he coached at Kit Carson, football and basketball, and Brian Gibbs could really score it. And I'm pretty sure my dad was only there for 3 years of his time. And that was when they really started keeping records. And I believe scoring wise, if I know he's top 3, I think he might still be the top 1 all-time league scorer. And I was out without a 3-point line, but don't fact check me on that, but I'm pretty, I'm sorry, that's Brian Gibbs. That would be Brian Gibbs. But Brian Bledsoe, he was also, I was able to watch him play a little bit. Brian Bledsoe was a fierce competitor, both offensively and defensively, really good. But Brian Gibbs, I would have to go to my numbers wise. I wasn't able to watch him play much. And then from times that I remembered, and a lot of these guys are coaches as well. Jason Deschamps was older than us, so he was a really well-rounded player, ended up going to play at the college level. His younger brother, Damon Deschamps, who played with me at the same time, he ended up coming here for a year at CSU-Pueblo with me. A very versatile big man, could shoot it a little bit, but then he played above the rim, block shots. And then, of course, Jake as well. Being the big man that he is, you don't see too many 6'9" guys at the 1A level. But those guys they were very well-rounded. And then one of the point guards, like I mentioned before, Randy Wilson, was a bigger point guard. You talk about an assist to turnover ratio that was really, really high, could shoot it, could score it, but his passing was probably passing and leadership would be the most I remember out of him. But numbers wise, it's hard to go against Brian Gibbs for Kit Carson.
What about on the girls' side? They have some studs there too, so don't leave them out.
I can't leave them. When I was younger, Desiree Oswald, she I believe was the state player of the year. But then you talk about recently the run of talent that they've had with Michaela Eisenbart, that is starting and playing and doing really well at UNC Greeley. All of her sisters, really, really tough players. From my class, they had started getting back to the state tournament for basketball, and volleyball they had been there before, but they had just started getting back for basketball. I know numbers wise, Desiree Oswald could fill it up, but then I'd probably have to say Michaela Eisenbart.
Who is the best overall athlete from Carson?
Oh man, that's a tough one. So many good, well-rounded athletes. I don't think I can pick just one on that. I will definitely get a lot of text over that one. I would like to throw one more
viewership. So
I would like to throw one more name out there. A Kit Carson guy, Richard Hogan. He was a very, very good, well-rounded athlete out in Kit Carson, and now he lives in Pueblo West, and probably one of the best golfers that I've played with in person.
So was he same age as Chris Oswald?
I believe so. Yes.
Remember, I mean, that's been, geez. I mean, I was young, so you were even a lot younger.
Yeah, and some other names just popped to mind, and ones that coach. You talk about the Randall family with Sean Randall, who coaches at Akron. He was a fantastic athlete, both in every sport that he did. A really good football player, along with Jess Randall and Jason Randall. All those guys were very tough football players, very tough basketball players. There was just, there's a lot that come to mind, and ones from way back. Greg Ear played with Brian Gibbs as well, and he played at Adams State. But they had some really good athletes out there that my dad, I know he loved to coach.
Final question. Not counting your dad, who is the best coach to come out of Kit Carson?
Well, in my lifetime, he was the only boys coach to come out of Kit Carson. And then my teammate, Damon Deschamps, took over for him right after he was done. And then Kurt Conley took over for him for football. And then on the girls' side, Sarah Crawford does a great job, as she's now the athletic director out there too. She does a great job with their girls' basketball program. But yeah, with those guys taking over for Dad, Damon is taking this year off due to COVID, and his brother Jason is going to take over. And that program's in great hands with those guys. And Kurt does a fantastic job with football. And of course, football, it's really tough if you don't have the deep numbers that a lot of schools do, whether it's injuries. But he does a fantastic job with those guys. And to mention, he was a great athlete as well, a great 3-sport athlete, football, all-state, basketball, all-state, and then track. Those guys were a part of the 4x100 meter relay state championship team. So Yeah, that one's tough considering that since I was born, there'd only been a few other coaches that had done it in Kit Carson.
Well, not necessarily at Kit Carson, but Kit Carson ties from that coaching tree that have gone on to, Pueblo West. And, I don't know why Wilson left Wiley. He could have,
because he wanted to come coach with me. That's why.
Well, you should want the Wiley then. No.
Yeah. But
no, yeah.
Coaching wise, Sean Randall played for Dad, and he started out in Eads, and that one stuck with us a little bit. And going to Eads and coaching our rival, and then won some state championships there. Won some state championships at McClave. Now he's at Akron, and he's still really successful. Have a few conversations here and there with him, and we don't just talk about hoops, talk about life, and he's really impactful as far as some of the conversations that we're able to have.
Okay, I know him and Kylie will love that too. So
yeah,
this episode will definitely be one of our premier ones, no doubt about that. So I have one last question for you before we let you go. Okay. Coming from a coaching standpoint, having your dad be a coach, we went into that. What advice do you have for, young kids such as Jack, who's 11, sixth grader, when it comes to, basketball, sports in general? Unfortunately, no basketball for him this year through, the Y or even through Corwin. So it was just baseball. So just kind of some advice you have for little ones like Jack, and something I can also relay on to his little brother.
I think now with kids that are Jack's age, don't take it too seriously right away. And you find that a lot with high school kids, to where the number one thing is why I'm playing is I want to get a college scholarship. And to me, I was never wanting to be that type of player. I wanted to play for the community. I wanted to win a state championship, but overall we just played because it was fun. We enjoyed it. We loved being around each other. Don't take it too seriously right away. Obviously you really want to work hard at it because you want to be good. But just remember that the game is fun, and that's the overall point of it, is having fun with it. Obviously, yeah, you're going to work hard. Your team's going to win games. You might even win state championships, and you're going to remember that for the rest of your life. But the most, to me, the number one thing that I remember from it was the relationships I built along the way and those life lessons that I got. But number one, those relationships of all those guys that I played with that I still talk to, those guys' friendship and our bond is really, really strong to this day, and it will be for the rest of my life.
Well, Coach, we wish you nothing but the best of luck. We wish we could actually come watch some games, but we'll definitely keep tabs on everything, and hopefully we get you back on after the season. I know we'll get updates. I know Coach Peck will keep us up to speed as well, but wish you nothing but the best for the Pueblo West Cyclones this year.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I'm sure Coach Peck will have plenty of videos to show you as well.
Oh yeah, he definitely has a lot of videos on that phone. So
yep, but yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it, and we hope to have you guys in the stand soon. And overall, lastly, I'd like to thank you guys for having me on.
Big thanks to Coach Trahern for taking some time to talk with us tonight. Jack, I remember him when he was like half your age. I am fortunate enough to have played against his dad's teams. I played against Coach Trahern coach teams, and it was no BS, man. Those guys were legit and they were intense. So I am not shocked that Ty will or is having success as a coach at any level he decides to coach at. That's really cool that he's out there in Pueblo West and doing that stuff.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
So your path, will you go to Pueblo West High School, or where will you go?
Either Pueblo West High School or Centennial.
Oh, okay. Well, we still got a few years to talk about that. I don't know about Centennial, man. I'm a Central guy. Central was more my speed when I was there. And maybe things have changed, but I'm always happier when the bell rings blue. That's just me personally. So, but okay. So now, after this last weekend, are you surprised with anything you saw? Oh, wait, whoa. Go ahead.
That's what I'm gonna say. I learned this from one of my friends that went to Centennial. Bell rings red, Wildcats are dead. Sorry if I've offended any Central fans.
Yeah, now you can't ever go anywhere in the central part of Pueblo. You just started a gang war, basically, is what you just did. So now we're gonna have to get you one of those mustaches with the fake noses, like the Humpty Dance guy wears.
I had to go to Centennial like every week.
I know, it's okay. Really, anywhere in Pueblo is cool, except just don't go to East. So, that's another thing we won't talk about. So now Sunday,
well, I'd prefer South.
I know, I'm just teasing. I am gonna get you in trouble. I need to be quiet, so because I still want to go down there. So we also recorded an interview last night. What are we at? Today's Wednesday. What's the date? Wednesday, January 27th. So we recorded an interview last night with the gentleman that will air next weekend that I am very excited. I've done a couple that have been really fun for me. This guy was the most fun I've had in an interview. So, and then we kept talking after we got off to the point where you went on and continued with your mock draft. You just said, you guys keep talking about what you're talking about, and then you logged off. So that's next week. Sunday.
It was a Madden tournament draft.
Oh yeah. The Madden tournament draft. So were you surprised with? Oh, okay. Were you surprised with anything you saw Sunday, and us getting a Buccaneers Chiefs Super Bowl, or was that kind of what you were expecting?
I wasn't really expecting the Bucs and Chiefs. I had a feeling that the Bucs would have a chance, but I didn't know they'd all make it all the way to the Super Bowl.
Is it a thing now where a fan at your age, like, do you see Tom Brady as maybe the greatest quarterback ever? Is that something that is that like when people say that, what do you think as a young NFL fan? Do you think Tom Brady's the best quarterback ever?
When he was with the Patriots, yeah, or until Deflategate, yeah.
So that bothers you then, like the Deflategate stuff is still something that resonates with you, and you kind of have it in the memory that he might have done some shady stuff.
Yes, he's going to remain a systematic quarterback for the rest of his career.
I mean, it's a hell of a system.
Yeah,
he's
it's his
played
system.
20 years. How old are you? 11?
11, yeah.
How many of the years have you been alive has Tom Brady played the Super Bowl while you've been alive? Like 8 of them?
10, I think. I'm not sure. 8.
That's ludicrous, dude. Like your entire life you've had to watch Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. That's actually hilarious.
It got bored, but the only thing I liked about it is that I got to go to Matt Rollins' Super Bowl party.
I've heard I've heard that's a good time. So I don't know what kind of what plans are this year for Super Bowl parties. I know kind of with the schedule for hockey, we can't have one, but I know I talked to Boss Lady this last weekend. I would like to have a Paradox of Sports Super Bowl party next year down there in Pueblo somewhere. We will find somewhere that we can go. We'll find a bar/restaurant kind of style deal, and we will get some friends together and we will have us a Super Bowl party. I think that would be a very good time.
Unless we have a Super Bowl party this year, which we probably will, but maybe not.
Okay.
We could even
that the COVID thing, and then I got hockey. So the girls, we got hockey. So we'll be stuck here. We actually have 4 games. I have 6 games. I have 2 of the junior games I got to call, and then the girls got double headers. I'm going to do 6 hockey games in 3 days. So that'll be fun. So okay, we'll get into the Super Bowl and stuff a little bit more next week. We'll make predictions. You can spend a little bit more time running the numbers, analyzing kind of what you want to do before we get into it. But this weekend, we have senior night up here for the Gillette Lady Grizzlies, the high school girls hockey team. We got 3 young ladies who we will be recognizing them and their parents. A lot of stuff goes into setting that up. A lot of curtains, a lot of emails, volunteer sheets, a lot of stuff like that. Also, I got the Rolex 24 Daytona starts this weekend, but you have got it's the Royal Rumble this weekend, right?
favorite WWE pay-per-view of the year.
Okay, so before we get into kind of what the matches are, what is the idea and everything behind, like, what is the Royal Rumble?
Okay, so the Royal Rumble, there are 30 superstars, and they're drawn from number 1 to 30. Every 90 minutes, one comes. Every 90 seconds, one comes into the match, and 1 and 2 start in the ring. And the way to eliminate your opponent is by throwing them over the top rope, and both feet have to land on the floor.
So has this always been the criteria for the Royal? Has that always been the criteria for the Royal Rumble?
No. And back in the early days of the Royal Rumble, I don't know what to say. There were 20 men, and there were 20 men.
So there's no like preliminary stuff, like it just when it goes to the pay-per-view live, they'll do the open and kind of the build up, and then all of a sudden, when you said the top 2 guys start in the ring, now is that the top? Are they ranking them like by seeds, or how does that work?
It's like.
And is this all heavyweights? Well, is Roman Reigns going to be there?
No, because he's the current Universal Champion.
So he doesn't have to fight his way in.
Yeah. Good, but he has.
So these are guys. What does the winner get? The winner of the Royal Rumble gets to go to WrestleMania. Is that how it works?
Yeah, and fight for a world championship.
Okay, who's the defending world champion then?
The defending world champion, you could choose from 1 or 2. Maybe even if you want, you could choose the NXT title. But most people.
Okay, so whoever wins the Royal Rumble this weekend, do they know who they will be wrestling at WrestleMania? Like, is there already a person set up at WrestleMania that's awaiting the winner of the Royal Rumble?
No, they get to choose. Say, for example.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, Daniel Bryan, who's going to be my pick because my dad's picking him, and he usually cheats on that stuff.
Yeah, we'll get into that cheating stuff.
Last year. And so I'm picking Daniel Bryan. Say Daniel Bryan wins the Royal Rumble. He could either choose from the current WWE champion, which will either be Drew McIntyre, or I forgot who he was facing, or Roman Reigns, or the Universal Champion, where Roman Reigns will be facing Kevin Owens. Oh wait, Drew McIntyre will be facing Goldberg for the WWE title at Royal Rumble.
Goldberg still wrestles?
He comes back like for world title matches. Like,
Yeah.
Like every 6 months.
I think you would be proud of me, especially probably the last week and a half. I have went down a rabbit hole, the YouTube rabbit hole on Undertaker, and I saw a couple of interviews with how he come to be and how Vince called him and sold him on the character, and then how he kind of knew he was done. And Undertaker's my favorite wrestler ever. Even I grew up in the Andre the Giant and Hogan and Rowdy Piper and all those. The Undertaker, what is it? Mark Calloway, whatever he's a cool dude. So I think he's done. I don't know if we'll see him. He might show up, but I don't think you're going to see him actually wrestling anymore. So you've got me into learning the history of wrestling a little bit. I'll give you that. So if you get a pick, so what do you anticipate going down then at the Royal Rumble?
I anticipate so let me pull up the Royal Rumble match card. Rumble match card.
Okay.
And I pulled it up on CBS, which is for some reason accurate. So, the men's Royal Rumble. So, Daniel Bryan, he was the first man to declare that he would be in the Royal Rumble match. And then there were plenty of surprises.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and as of right now, we do not know the entire 30-man field. But you can expect most of those who appear regularly on Raw and SmackDown to join the field. One early surprise.
So here's the names I recognize off this. I recognize AJ Styles.
Mm-hmm.
Sheamus is the redhead guy with the handlebars, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Dolph Ziggler, Edge. Some of these guys, though, I don't know who. I don't know who John Morrison is. The Miz. I've never heard of The Miz. Oh, Randy Orton. Holy cow, I know Randy Orton. Okay. And then 13 to be announced. So.
Okay. So I'm going to go through the 17 event. So you know Edge. You know Dolph Ziggler, right?
Yes.
Sami Zayn?
Never heard of him.
He's this Canadian dude that's known for being a liberal counter spy sort of thing, and he has,
probably a nice guy. Says about boot, don't you know? Probably loves maple syrup and hockey. Okay.
No, he's a bad guy.
Okay. Well, then he's not a Canadian then, because Canadians are not bad. Canadians are good guys.
Yeah. Then there's Mustafa Ali, who was originally
Never heard of him.
He's a guy from Chicago. He's from Chicago, and
so he's seen some stuff then.
What?
He's seen some stuff then. He's dodged bullets.
He was originally a good guy. He's a high flyer sort of person, and
a leaper. He's a leaper.
Yeah, and a few months ago, we found out that he was leading this group of rebellious, anti-WWE people named Retribution, and they've come to take over, and now he's a bad guy. So
okay.
He's entering. Then there's Jeff Hardy. You know who he is?
Now that I've heard of, but I couldn't pick him out of a lineup. No, I've heard the name before. I think we've talked about him before.
Yeah. He's the he's known to be Matt Hardy's brother.
Okay. So is there a chance Matt Hardy shows up then?
probably not. They separated a year ago because
Okay.
Matt Hardy went to AEW. So Jeff Hardy's the lone one, and he's a former world champion, intercontinental champion, few other accolades. And then there's Cesaro, who is known to be the strongest wrestler in WWE history, pound for pound. Although he's only like 240 pounds. And he's like he's a teammate to Shinsuke Nakamura, who's also on this. He's a Swiss dude, and he's known for swinging his opponent around with his legs and his, I don't know what to call this.
Who else was on there?
All right, there was Otis. He's a Pueblo guy.
Oh yeah, I know Otis. He's a CSU guy. I should have known that. I know who Otis is.
Okay.
We got to get Otis on the pod. I feel like we should be able to get Otis. We're gonna get Otis.
Yeah. Then there's Shinsuke Nakamura, who's a Japanese guy, Cesaro's teammate, known to be more of like a striker sort of guy. Then there's Sheamus and AJ Styles. You know them. Jey Uso, who's formerly a member of the Usos before Jimmy Uso got injured. And then Jey Uso was forced to do the bidding of Roman Reigns, who's now a bad guy.
Okay.
And he's now a bad guy, and he's been on a hot streak lately, and he is in the Royal Rumble, so he has a good chance of winning as well. Then there's John Morrison. He's John Morrison and The Miz, both teammates. John Morrison, they're both sort of like movie star guys, but John Morrison has a bit more appeal to him as he has like a long hair.
Okay. Guys with long hair is overrated. That's just my opinion.
And he's kind of known for being a high flyer. He was out of the WWE for 8 years until he returned in 2020. Meanwhile, The Miz, he's the current Money in the Bank. He has not cashed in his Money in the Bank yet. I don't understand why. But he's got like 6 months left. He's probably gonna cash in sometime soon. He's also a movie star guy. He has his own TV show.
Okay.
On USA. It's called Ms. and Mrs. Check it out. Then there's Bobby Lashley. Here, let's first mention the Hurt Business. It's a group of 4 wrestlers involving Bobby Lashley, MVP, Shelton Benjamin, and Cedric Alexander. Bobby Lashley is considered the CEO, and he is probably up there with Cesaro as the strongest wrestler pound for pound. And he was out for like 11 years or 10 years until he returned in 2018. So that's pretty cool. And then there's Daniel Bryan. You know who he is, right?
Yes, that I do know Daniel Bryan.
And then there's Big E.
Okay.
He was originally a teammate to Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods before they got drafted to separate brands. Kofi and Xavier on Raw, Big E on SmackDown. And he's been doing pretty well. He is the current Intercontinental Champion, I think. And he's also pretty strong. He was a powerlifter, but not as strong as Cesaro or Bobby Lashley. And
cool. And then I know Randy Orton.
Okay, and then there's the Women's Royal Rumble. Next up as the game. There's Nia Jax, probably the strongest woman wrestler. Charlotte
Okay.
Flair, one of
I know her.
the daughter of Ric Flair.
Woo!
Bailey, now the sort of like I don't know how to explain her. She's in a rivalry with the next girl, Bianca Belair, who's probably the strongest in history pound for pound. Probably the strongest, the fastest. She's known as the EST of WWE. Strongest, the fastest, toughest, stuff like that. Then there's Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, a team of. They're both pretty strong in a way. Yeah. And then there's Peyton Royce, Australian, a former member of the Iconics until they lost a match and had to split up. So she's been teaming with Lacey Evans for a while. Then there's Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax's teammate. And she is probably the best submission artist and probably the best woman submission artist in the
Okay.
Alexa Bliss. Now the Fiend Bray Wyatt's like second in command. Now she's turned all of a sudden into very weird. I don't like it.
Uh-oh.
What?
Mama Bear. Oh, no. So Mama Bear we're recording this, which we do a lot of times on Wednesday nights. Mama Bear, boss lady, works at the nursery at the church on Wednesday nights. And she has like a little 4-month-old baby in there. And she just sent me a Snapchat of her and the little baby. And she just went, "Aw." But we're not having any more babies. So like that's not happening. So I already got it. It's already off. It's a Snapchat, man. It's one and done. So it's already gone. Imagine a child about yay big. That's what it was. Dark hair. Oh, yeah, we're not doing that.
And then continuing, there's Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott, a team now, as the Riot Squad.
Okay. So when does this start? Oh yeah. No, hold on. How many more women we got?
One more.
Okay. Who's the last one?
Tamina. She's the son.
Okay.
She's the daughter, I think, of Jimmy Snuka.
Oh, okay. I know that name.
Mm-hmm.
So what day is the Royal Rumble? When will you be watching this?
The 31st. Sunday.
Okay, so Sunday. Right on. Well, we'll be done. So like I said, I got hockey Saturday at 5:15 and then Sunday morning at 9:15. So I'll be done and home. So it depends. Well, my Rolex ought to be over too. I think it gets done at like 3 p.m. So I might watch a Royal Rumble. I can't promise you anything, but we will see. So
or do you have
it's the Rolex. It's a 24 hour. So it's a 24-hour race. They run at Daytona on the road course. The main reason I'm watching it is there's more NASCAR guys in it this year than there has been in the past. Chase Elliott's running, Jimmy Johnson's running, the normal road course guys, Allmendinger, those guys will be in it. So I don't watch the whole thing. The cars run for 24 hours and they switch off. Each team it's 4 drivers and each driver has to drive a minimum amount of time. But there's people like, for example, Roger Penske. He was a couple years ago, I believe he was 82 years old at the time. He stayed up all 24 hours on the pit boss. And Roger Penske's worth like $9 billion with a B. $9 billion. And this is what he does as a hobby. And he stayed up the whole night and watched his team race. So that's another thing. Once shit opens up a little bit and we can go do fun stuff, I am going to take you to a NASCAR race because you will love it once I get you to one. You're taking me to wrestling. I'm taking you to NASCAR. That will happen.
Alright. So now let's continue. There's Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. Roman Reigns took issue with WWE official Adam Pearce, a former 5-time NWA champion, booking a match between Kevin Owens and Jey Uso after Reigns beat Owens in 2 matches for the Universal Championship. Reigns and Paul Heyman pulled strings to get Pearce entered into a gauntlet match to determine Reigns' challenger at the Royal Rumble. Uso and Reigns then attacked Shinsuke Nakamura, the last man standing in the match, before placing Pearce on top for the 3 count and the victory. The situation ultimately backfired when Pearce signed the contract for a last man standing match, only to then immediately be injured while walking, immediately naming Owens as his replacement at the event.
So this is going to go on at the Royal Rumble? Like Reigns is going to wrestle?
Yes.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought Reigns was already waiting for WrestleMania.
Yeah, he still has to fight for the title. Okay, next up.
Oh, gotcha. I misunderstood. Okay, I gotcha.
Next up, there's the WWE Championship match. Drew McIntyre versus Goldberg. While McIntyre had active storylines with Keith Lee and Sheamus, WWE appears set to pull the trigger on another Goldberg return. McIntyre beat Lee on Legends Night in an incredible match, but the post-match moment was immediately interrupted by Goldberg, who issued a challenge for the Royal Rumble on the premise that McIntyre has no respect for the legends who came before. McIntyre accepted the following leak, accusing Goldberg of putting words in his mouth. All right, next one, Women's Tag Team Championship. Asuka and Charlotte Flair, the champions, versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, the challengers. Baszler and Jax weren't ready to walk away after losing the titles to Asuka and Flair at TLC. The match is also largely a product of a women's tag division that has no other challengers ready for a major pay-per-view title shot. Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, and Lacey Evans have all been involved in issues with the 4 women in the match and could play into how the action plays out. All right.
Okay.
Next one.
Oh, you got one more?
Oh, we have a few more. Or we have like 2 more title matches. And that's all.
Okay,
and
we'll go
that's
through the
all
title
I-
matches.
Okay.
Then we'll wrap it up.
That's like all that's on this.
Perfect. Okay.
Intercontinental Championship. Big E, the champion, versus Sami Zayn, the challenger. Big E took the title off Zayn on Christmas, and Zayn isn't someone who would sit back and not try to force his way into an opportunity to get the title back. There's no easier path to Big E's first big title defense than to book the rematch. And then meanwhile, United States Championship, Bobby Lashley, the champion, versus Riddle, the challenger. Riddle has had his issues with MVP in the Hurt Business lately, including being attacked by Lashley. Matches with MVP, Cedric Alexander, and Shelton Benjamin are fine for weekly television, but don't feel like pay-per-view bouts for Riddle. Lashley has not been an active champion, so he needs a real challenger for the belt on a big stage. Riddle fills that opening well and could get his first big title run with a win.
Bam. Okay, we'll recap it next week. Thank you, Mr. Trahern, for talking with us. Before we get out of here, we have to do what the executive producer wants us to do. So, Jack, go ahead and let's get us out of here.
And that's it for this week's edition of the Paradox of Sports podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. And do we have an Instagram?
Yeah, I think your old man runs the Instagram.
Oh,
I don't have it, so that's the executive producer taking care of Instagram.
And follow our Instagram as well. Thank you, guys. See you next week on the Paradox of Sports.